Hello, and welcome to Connecting Hope. I'm excited to bring Dr. Chad Allgood of the Division of Early Childhood Care and Development back for an information session regarding two new programs that we're bringing to the state of Mississippi to enhance childcare in Mississippi. First is our Mississippi Lift, which stands for Learning Investment for Tomorrow. It's an expansion of our resource and referral sites from 16 to over 50 across the state of Mississippi to better support childcare providers and provide resources to families in every community across the state. We will also be talking about the new Elevate Quality Support System that will provide consumer education to parents and grandparents needing childcare, as well as provide growth and enhancement of services to childcare providers across the state of Mississippi. We're excited for how MDHS is serving the childcare industry and providing a strong childcare industry for today, enhancing the growth of children for tomorrow. Welcome back, Dr. Allgood, and thank you for taking time to share with us some of the great new programs and expansion of programs that are taking place in childcare in Mississippi.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start. As we've talked in previous sessions about the requirement of the Division of Early Childhood Care and Development to provide quality supports, that is a federally mandated level that you have to maintain budget-wise, but beyond that, it's the effort to support the childcare industry as a whole and develop a cohesive relationship between our state agency and the childcare business. So let's talk a little bit about quality supports and remind people why we do them, and then we'll move into the kind of talking about the expansion of these two programs.
Sure. So it's no secret that our division, we do support families with child care tuition assistance, and we've talked about that at length before. But also a big part of what our division does is just what you said. It's all about boosting the quality of early childhood education. Mississippi does not have a dedicated office of child care, a dedicated office of early childhood that serves the birth to 5 realm. But for all intents and purposes, MDHS through the Division of Early Childhood Care and Development is in fact that. A lot of the work that we do around quality, it is driven by federal requirements of the funding that we get from the feds. We're required to spend 12% on quality improvement, and we do that, but the feds do give us some flexibilities about what that looks like. And one of the things that we've tried to be very intentional is as we're working to boost quality, we've tried to make sure that we are including our child care practitioners, our child care providers, and then also the families that utilize child care, giving them a voice, giving them a seat at the table at the development of those initiatives that are aimed at us offering the best possible care and education for our children.
So you alluded to relationships. I think as we talk about in depth in a few moments about the new resource and referral, the expansion of those programs, but also the new quality support system, what I've been impressed with is what you referenced, discussing and building these components and expanding them, not in a linear case of things coming down from a state agency, but it's been a deliberate purpose from you to involve and really take guidance so that it trickles up to you to design a program that benefits. Let's talk about that.
So a former mentor of mine, former boss and mentor of mine, she always talked about how important it is to drive work to communities.
Yes.
We can develop policy at the state level, we can do things at this level, but the magic is what goes on day to day at the community level. And again, it's very important that we not dictate to communities what their needs are and how to respond to those needs. So it's very important that we say, okay, listen, this is what we're required to do at the federal level. This is where the flexibilities are. Let's have a conversation about what your community needs are. Let's talk about what childcare looks like in your respective area, and then let's talk about how we can adapt the programming to meet the specific needs. Because even in Mississippi, which we're a relatively small state,
Yes.
We're a very rural state, but even so, the characteristics of the different regions of Mississippi look different. And the needs of our child care providers, the needs of our families are different in those different regions. And if we apply just a one-size-fits-all model, it's not going to work. And you talk about the Resource and Referral Network, which I'm very happy to say that in the last 3 years, we have expanded the footprint of those sites from 16, and we're now at 46 sites. And we're going to open a few more before this year is over. And what's so wonderful about those resource and referral sites is, they are overseen by people that actually live and work in the communities that they are located. The people that work at the resource and referrals often are people that have grown up in that community. They know the people, they know the resources, they know the families. And it is about, when a family comes in, that's a family that the staff there at that resource and referral have established a relationship with. So again, it gets back to building and growing community, because at the end of the day, when we talk about child development and we talk about nurturing and growing children, it does in fact take a village, as the saying goes. Yes. And in this case, it's rallying the village around what the needs are of the children in those different areas.
So it's not just about supporting in a resource and referral center. And let's go specifically into resource and referral, because that's what we're going to talk about, the expansion of Mississippi Lift first. It's listening to the people that are organically entrenched within these communities to know what are the specific needs of their individual customer that may come in. It's a strong customer service module that y'all have created. Specifically, I was impressed when we went to record some information in Tupelo. Mm-hmm. As the staff were coming in, or as child care providers were coming in, they were communicating specifically on what their needs were, but then there were families coming in, homeschool families, there were families of special needs children coming in, mm-hmm. and there were adaptable services for each one of those publics as they come in. So let's talk about how these R&Rs have been designed and to some extent where they've been strategically placed, even utilizing some statewide partners that are already there in the community to be stronger as well.
So the resource and referral, you basically described it. The vision there is that they are going to be hubs for activity around children. And it's our hope that not just childcare, although we definitely want our childcare folks to utilize those sites, the resources that are there, but families, parents can come in with their children, homeschool parents can come in with their children, but teachers that are working in the public school system, they are more than welcome to come in and utilize the resources as well. It's really it's a community center, and we call it resource and referral because there are resources, but then we also want different organizations that are in the community to get involved. So anyone that comes into a resource and referral site that's connected to a child and has a need, we can basically just gift wrap, for lack of a better way of saying it, help for them, whatever it might look like. And it could be as simple as, hey, their kid wants to check out a new toy to try out, all the way to, let's help them find, if the parent is looking for employment, let's connect you, with the resource that can help you there, or whatever, the families might need. The expansion piece of that was very important also, because when we talk about early childhood education, when we talk about what children need, often when I have conversations with people, you try to describe it, but until people actually see the types of activities that we're talking about, sometimes it's hard to kind of make those connections. But when folks walk into a resource and referral, boom, the lights cut on, they're like, oh, I get it now. It makes sense. And the Mississippi Lift project, and Mississippi Lift, it stands for Learning Investment for Tomorrow. It's exactly what we're trying to do. Yeah. We're investing in children because children are the tomorrow.
Yes.
And without us investing in our children, Mississippi's future is not going to look too bright. And so that's the whole premise behind the Mississippi Lift project, was to strengthen Mississippi's early childhood system as a whole. But we knew that one of the first steps of that was to create a physical presence
Yes.
in communities, which is why the expansion of the resource and referral was the first piece of that. And we could have done that internally. We could have done that, MDHS. We could have gone out there and done it ourselves, but we would not have seen the buy-in, and I like to call it the magic, because you just feel it, when you go into one of the sites. And so we partnered with community organizations in the Delta area. We partnered with the Delta Health Alliance. They've done a tremendous job of setting up sites in the Delta area. And then we also partnered with Mississippi State Extension Service. Extension Service has a very robust history in community involvement. Early childhood education is one of the pillars of Extension's programming. They've made that very clear. They've been a long-standing partner of MDHS at serving children in the past. We also work with the University of Mississippi. We work with the University of Southern Mississippi, and I think we might talk about specifically that those two resource and referrals here in a little bit.
Yes.
But those are geared at serving children that have special needs. And then we're very excited that we're about to partner with Jackson State University to open a new resource and referral on campus there as well. All of these partners, they all have perspectives, expertise, backgrounds that do nothing but strengthen the services that we can provide at the resource and referrals. And, we meet with them regularly. We say, hey, how's it going? What are y'all's thoughts about how can we make things better? And Mark, time and time again, those partners are stepping up to the table to serve these families, to serve these children in ways that I'm getting chills thinking about it, because when I go into a resource and referral and I see just the excitement that's there, it's inspiring. Yeah. It's very inspiring, and I feel like through these partnerships, we are truly starting to make a difference within those communities.
So within those communities, number one, in Mississippi, we don't have the most robust public transportation systems available. We transportation and mobility for many people, no matter what community they're in, to get at the point we had only 16. That meant that people had to travel across multiple county lines to get to the old model of 16 R&Rs. And it was a great effort to be there. But knowing that each community's trajectory and the success of the R&R is determined by that community as you've laid out, having an R&R a little closer in proximity to someone's home, especially working with Delta Health Alliance and Mississippi State to hit some underserved childcare deserts, to maybe be a little more present into some rural areas. That's really been one of y'all's deliberate purposes as well in this expansion.
Yes, and I would love to see a resource and referral in every county. Yeah. At some point. That's kind of really, it's a long-term goal of that program. In the meantime, we have those stationary sites, and then in addition to the 46 stationary sites, where we also have 4 mobile resource and referral units. And they are geared up, and they just like, they have the same types of resources. Children can come on board. There's learning toys that they can check out. There's materials that teachers can make things, for their classroom. And again, that's not just childcare teachers. Yeah. That's teachers that work in, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, on up. Sky's the limit. And those mobile units can go out to those more remote areas where we don't have a stationary site.
So, to that point, childcare affects every community. I cannot wait to see Mississippi Lift taken to the four corners of Mississippi. Great work there. But talk about when they show up to that van and it enters their community, or they have that R&R open in their community. When they open those doors, what can they get? What does it cost? I think people are going to be shocked, I believe, at that answer. And again, who are the audiences? We've already mentioned that, but who are our audiences that are allowed to come in there?
Right. So when they go in, first thing that should happen is they will be greeted by the staff that are there. We want everyone to feel welcome. Yes. Because that That is, I mean, that these sites are for the people that visit, plain and simple. So they'll be greeted by someone that works there at the resource and referral, that is there to answer questions, to help guide them, because the resource and referral, it's multifaceted in the services that they can offer. When they walk in, some things that they're going to see. They're going to see a very bright, colorful environment. They're going to see shelves of learning toys, books, other learning resources, all of which, by the way, they can check out absolutely free.
Wait.
Yeah, absolutely free. No charge.
We need to put a big flashing sign on there, free, right?
Yeah, absolutely free. And these are high quality materials. Yeah. This is not. I mean, these are very high quality learning materials, and we make sure that we keep all of them outfitted for that purpose. And these are not just materials for little kids, young children. There are plenty of resources for infants, toddlers, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, but we also have after school things. Summer camps that are looking for things that they can use. They can go in. We have indoor and outdoor things, materials, toys that are present, and it's all organized by age group and by category, so it's relatively easy, to find what you need. And if you're not sure if you what you're looking for, you can ask the person that's there, and they will help you. In addition to the materials, we also have areas where teachers can make things for their classrooms. Yeah. So we have activity guides that have curriculum resources. Teachers can make copies of things within reason, of course. But the activity guides have examples of activities that teachers can do. Then we have craft paper, construction paper, butcher paper, laminators, copying machines, arts and crafts supplies. We have all glue, scissors, you name it. We have all of that teachers can use. We call it a make and take area. Yeah. So they make it and then they take it. They make it. They make what they need, and then they take it to where they need it. So back to their classrooms. But again, families can make things. There was a mother I heard that she went in and she had made her family's chore chart, for their family. So I mean, that's great as well. And again, all of that's no charge. So and then the other thing that the resource and referrals offer is the referrals to other services. Yeah. So when a family or a child care provider or whomever walks in, whoever is working at the resource and referral, they are prepared to offer information on other services that the families or whoever visits might benefit from.
So specifically to referrals, you mentioned we may touch on the special needs pieces from Ole Miss and USM. Let's go straight to there. Before we came on, we were talking specifically about early intervention and maybe some learning or behavioral issues. Mm-hmm. You and I have had many conversations, and you've enlightened me as a father and as grandfather just how important early intervention is. And these resource referral centers, as we talk about them, make sure that we highlight, while some of the partnerships may be with Ole Miss in North Mississippi and USM in South Mississippi, these resource referral centers are trained to make sure they're reconnecting no matter what part of the state you are.
Correct.
So let's talk about maybe referrals specifically for special needs at USM and Ole Miss.
Yeah, so one of the things that we do, we work with University of Southern Mississippi, and we fund the Mississippi Early Childhood Inclusion Center. We call it MECIC for short. So Dr. Alicia Westbrook and her team with MECIC, they are rock stars at early intervention. The purpose of that program is to really work with child care providers, child care teachers, but also parents that have children with special needs, helping them understand what early intervention is, because it can be very scary, especially for a parent that may be experiencing or seeing their child experiencing something that may be a developmental delay or a physical thing that needs to be addressed. It can be very scary. MECIC's folks, they help take the fear out of that. They can help educate on early intervention, but they also offer free developmental screenings. And we do that across the state at the resource and referral sites, where families can bring children in and they will be screened free of charge. The confidentiality is maintained throughout, and if it does look like the child does need assistance based on the results of that screening, MECIC, they will help route that family to services that they may use. Some of those services can be provided there directly at the resource and referral. Sometimes it's just simply a certain type of learning adaptation that needs to take place. But then also, MECIC, they can route the family to, if there's if they do need more intensive early intervention services, they will provide that as well.
So to circle back to that, even though MECIC is based in Hattiesburg, they're traveling across the state. So someone in Clarksdale, someone in Corinth or Tupelo doesn't have to drive 5 hours down to.
So MECIC itself is located in Hattiesburg, but Dr. Westbrook has specialists all across the state. And these are not people that live in Hattiesburg and travel. These are people that live in their respective areas. So again, they know their communities, they know their services, they get to know the families that live there because they themselves are residents in those communities. So yeah, even though MECIC it's headquartered, in Hattiesburg, the program reaches statewide, as do all of our programs.
And that's an important piece that we want. Again, it goes back to the expansion of the number of R&Rs, but embedding them with people that are experts in certain specializations, not just finding someone who knows and is an expert in the childcare industry, but also in a piece of helping a child develop. And to that point, how important, and just take this moment shortly, how important is that early intervention piece?
It's critical. Early intervention, again, it can be scary, but it cannot be ignored. The sooner we can identify if a child has a developmental delay, a physical delay, the sooner we can address it. It is incredible how quickly we can help that child overcome whatever that issue might be. It's one of those things, children, even if children or a child is not necessarily exhibiting something, getting those developmental screenings is very important because it may be something that may be overlooked. And if we can go ahead, the earlier that we can identify what assistance that child needs and get that child that assistance, the much better, the much easier it's going to be on that child to adapt to whatever that is. And we can set them on a trajectory for success. Can't ignore it. It's critical to get that early intervention as soon as possible.
So if you're wondering about whether it's the early intervention component or just the locations of the R&R or exactly what, again, Mississippi Lift is, a beautiful new website is being rolled out for Mississippi Lift. Anything else you want to talk about Mississippi Lift, and especially that growth of R&R, of the R&R centers, or any encouragement to those that are listening to utilize these services?
I just think that the other thing to mention is, even though Mississippi Lift, we've designed these things and again done so with the voice of our community partners, the work is not done. Another thing that we know about early childhood is we have to constantly be looking at ways we can adapt the way that we're meeting children where they are. And so just as, we have these programs in place, but they're not static. It's a very dynamic process, and that, as we continue to offer these services, as we continue to expand, we're also going to continue to find ways to improve and do better. And if anyone has the opportunity to go in and visit an R&R, if they see something that's not meeting their needs, or if they have a suggestion, speak up. Tell the people there, hey, everything here is great, but I would love to see this. And we will make sure that goes up the chain, because that feedback loop is going to be very important. Because, like I said, as Mississippi Lift takes off, and as we continue to move forward, we want to continue to make sure that we're getting all of that right. That we're being responsive to all the as many of the needs as we possibly can meet.
I love the commitment that not only did you build a program that was informed, but you're keeping a program that is committed to staying informed and adapting. In many cases, what we see coming out of many government entities is a very rigid process. But number one, you're being flexible, it's fluid, but it's also mainly been relational. And I think seeing that approach, just hearing already comments from the childcare industry at different hearings, they're extremely appreciative. And building LIFT in this way also has helped you build what we're going to talk about next. But one thing I want to highlight as we come out of the LIFT, we're also going to have some social media links to the LIFT R&R sites, because we're going to be publishing. Each one of those sites hosts events each month. Some of them may be relevant to a reading time. One may just be an arts and craft time, but those events are geared to build a stronger child care community and collaboration amongst even parents within those communities. So follow those social media accounts, get connected to those, because it's the primary way across the state that we're going to be announcing the local events that impact those local communities. So along those lines, you talked about that conversation to build a stronger LIFT program, but there's a new program. And to be honest, I'm extremely excited about this. Quality support kind of takes on, I think sometimes you can see it as a misnomer, that it's Big Brother overlooking someone's shoulder. So what we're going to do is talk about how, again, you and your team listened and took and really allowed the childcare industry to take leadership of guiding you to something that becomes very strong consumer support. It supports the enhancement of the development of teachers and childcare providers themselves, but also provides parents information to make informed decisions. What are the services in this entity? What are their ratings in terms of 4-star? Now, the quality support system isn't rating.
No.
What I love is it tells you these are the items that a child care center is specializing, and they've taken some extra steps. So let's talk about child quality support and what it isn't, but most importantly, what it is.
When you talk about quality in early childhood education, being able to really know what that is difficult, because quality is a very subjective term. Yes. What is quality to one person may not be quality to another person. And so how do you really create a system, that helps child care providers make their programs better without taking away the special things that they can offer, those adaptive pieces that are so critical, but then also helps families find a program that will meet their needs. Yeah. Because no two families have the same needs. No two children have the same needs. As a nation, we have tried to tackle this issue of child care quality in a lot of different ways. Historically, states have used what we call quality rating improvement systems. And it just stands for that. A program is rated based on some scale, some measurement. They would receive a score. Yeah. And then the idea is the higher the score, the better quality program that child care center represents. The issue is when you merge all of these different pieces into a single score, into a single rating, you lose the nuances that are very important to families. The information that families really need to know to find a program that's going to be well suited for their child. So what we did was we took a nod from the Policy Equity Group, their national center, and they talked about breaking down the components of a quality rating improvement system into developing something that is more suited to informing families of what quality early childhood education should look like, but then in turn also helps our early childhood programs themselves identify their pieces and help them identify what needs to be strengthened, and gets away from that one-size-fits-all model. So what we've done is, in place of a rating system where we're not going to issue a star rating or you know, red ribbon, blue ribbon, whatever. We are using a badging system, and it's a multi-tiered badging system. And we are going to issue the badges based on what is most important in early childhood, building on a good foundation, and then taking it from there. So we're currently in year 1 of the rollout of our new system, and we don't even call it a quality rating improvement system. We're calling it a quality support system. And you know, we say that with the quality support system, we're giving our child care community the support they need, but also helping them get the recognition that they deserve. And so with the quality support system, because we are going to support them every step of the way. So we're in year 1. Right now, child care providers are registering to earn their first badge. The first badge focuses on interaction between the teachers and the children, because that is the keystone of early childhood education. It all gets down to interaction. Teacher-child interaction is the most critical component. So the first badge focuses on that. We are using a nationally recognized scale. It's called the Classroom Assessment Scoring System. And even though it is an assessment, again, providers are not going to be scored against each other. They'll meet the criteria for the badge or they won't. And then when we get into year 2, we're going to roll out what we call fundamental badges. And the fundamental badges are based on the specific needs of children across the age spectrum. So there will be an infant badge, a toddler badge, a preschool badge, a school age badge, and then an early inclusion badge at that level. And what we're doing is we're taking that interaction to the next level. Okay, we understand that teacher-child interaction is important, but then how do we specialize those interactions in the classroom based on what the developmental needs are of the children, starting in infancy and as they get older?
You mentioned that it's going to start, even within that system, it helps them identify something that this may be missing, I can correct this, and then I can still attain. So it's not, you didn't get this, it's over. Right. They can come back and work to attain. Again, it's providing a stronger child care entity to a local community. Right. They also know, and it gives them something that they can brag about and use to build a stronger business.
We want our child care providers to take ownership of the process, and that's why we've involved them heavily in the development of it, and we'll continue to involve them as we again continue to focus on the development of the system as we move on into year 2 and then year 3 and then so forth and so on. It's very important that the people that are in the classroom, the teachers, the child care directors that are overseeing the program, it's very important that they also adopt a vision for where they want to go, within their programs. And with our new QSS, by the way, we're calling it Elevate.
Yes.
Because just like with Lift, Elevate is all about preparing our children to soar.
Yep.
And so Elevate is designed to be very flexible. It's designed to meet child care programs where they are, help them identify their strengths, but also help them identify areas that potentially there's some improvement that may be needed, but then allowing them to also pivot. It doesn't concrete them into one specific pathway, and as they're going to navigate through the badging system, they can earn as many of those badges as they want to beyond the first one. The first one is required of all, but these others, and it allows them to essentially build a profile that highlights the specialized care and education that they can provide. And then when parents go on the website and they see the badges, they will get to see what are the specializations that a program offers. And with each of the badges, there are things that programs will have to do to show proficiency, in those different areas.
So essentially, in one community, you may have Child Care Center ABC, have Child Care Center 1, 2, 3. Child Care Center ABC may realize that they've got a part of the market, a niche of the market that a lot of the young babies are coming to them. Mm-hmm. And so they may want to focus more on that specialization towards infancy. And this over here. It helps provide a more robust services across the community, so you don't have maybe some direct competition, and maybe they support each other
Right.
in those programs as well.
Right. We're not pitting child care providers against each other, because, and that's another thing that's really needed amongst our child care community is cohesion and a sense of collegiality, because all of these different programs, if they start looking at it in the way that you just described, they will realize that they can support each other and build each other up rather than try to tear each other down. And again, that's why using the badging system, we're not saying this child care center is better than this one or vice versa. What we are able to, because in actuality, that's a very biased perspective.
Very subjective.
Again, because what is quality to you may not be quality to me specifically. But what we are doing is we're breaking down that rating into those respective pieces and saying, okay, this is what this program excels in. And this program may be more geared to work with younger children, and then this program may be better geared to work with after-school children. And then when we go to year 3, which will be specialization badges, we're going to get into even more nuanced pieces that parents might be interested in. And we can talk about that at a later date.
I think when we're ready to launch year 3, this is such a long process. What I do love is the idea that not only we're preparing Mississippi children to soar, but we are literally improving the trajectory of moving child care to a higher level of awareness and support for building a stronger educational environment, a stronger social, emotional support from parents and the community. Right. It's all geared to truly elevate and lift up Mississippi's children and families.
I'm going to hit you with a statistic.
Yep.
We have 14,000 individuals that work in child care programs. That's our teachers, that's our directors, that's cooks, whatever. I've worked in this industry for a long time, and I've had the privilege of working alongside people that are in these child care programs. They don't get the credit they deserve. Child care does not get the credit that it deserves. It is an industry that is, it's relatively new. When you think about a service industry, the idea of child care itself is relatively new. It really took off in the 70s, and then in the 80s it really took off. But then it was in the late 90s and 2000s when this whole idea of adding the education piece to the care piece came along. You cannot refute what research tells us, and I'm not just talking about what we call soft science. I'm talking about hard neuroscience. We have literally mapped the brain, from infancy and in those first few years of life, and that's when the most learning takes place. That's when the brain starts to get hardwired for how it's going to work in the future. And if we don't nurture those brains in those first few years of life, those children are going to have a much more difficult time being successful in the future. We cannot overemphasize the importance of investing in childcare, which again is why we took on the acronym LIFT, Learning Investment for Tomorrow. You cannot overstate how much we've overlooked childcare up until now. And, I think finally it is, there is a lot of attention on this industry, but I would challenge people that are relatively new to childcare, whether it's a policymaker, if it's a parent, a new parent, whomever, listen. Listen to what experts in the industry, and I'm not talking about myself, listen to what a child care director is saying. Listen to what your child's teacher is saying. Pay attention, to what child care and education really is. And think about how much better it could be if we started to really invest, if we started to really think about how vital child care is, and we gave it the place at the table that it needs to be. Not sitting on the floor, at the table.
Listening to those who are embedded in it every day. And a conversation starts with 2 ears. It doesn't start with a mouth.
That's right.
and listening even to our children, to see even as they get older, talk about their memories. I've heard my children so many times, they were privileged to go to a university lab school where we as parents were challenged to be involved in our own children's lives. That's what you're talking about. And that's why the availability of R&R Center and encouraging families to be engaged no matter what the age of their children are in those R&Rs, but also to have these consumer support sides where we will be dropping these badges on websites. We're going to make them, I believe we're going to make them available to each of the centers. Once they attain them, we're going to give them some digital tokens to put on their own website and have at their doors. But when you mouse over on a website, it will explain what these badges actually mean and what somebody went through to get there. So Chad, number one, I'm thankful for the work you do. You said sometimes not just listening to the experts. We know that you are our expert in Mississippi, and we're appreciative of the passion you bring to this entity, to childcare, the passion you have for children, the passion you have for parents, but mainly I love seeing the relationship and passion you have for helping providers support their local communities, because everything that we do affects a local community. So again, any closing thoughts on Elevate and really how that's going to be presented, and then we'll make sure that we put those links into our thread.
So with Elevate, like I said, we're in year one. We have our pathway that's set before us, but we're continuing to work on developing Elevate. Stay tuned to what year two. We're going to be doing another round of town hall meetings in just a couple of months where we're going to talk about year two, get feedback. We need people's responses on what they think the model is going to accomplish, what we may have missed, what else we need to do to make that system successful. I do want to say one other thing, just talking about how important early childhood education is. I remember back when I was 4 years old, I was in Miss Sylvia's pre-K classroom, and whenever we'd go to the art easel, she would put a blank piece of paper in front of us, and every time she would say to me, "Chad, the hardest thing to conquer is a blank piece of paper." 4 years old, I had no idea what she was talking about. But then as I got older, those words continued with me. When I was in school, when I'd start to write a paper or whatever. As a matter of fact, when I sat down to start thinking about the concept of what is now Elevate, looking at that blank computer screen, Miss Sylvia's words still resonated with me. The hardest thing to conquer is a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper. And I think what she meant with that is you can't be afraid to get started. And so again, just a challenge to those out there that might be listening who want to get involved and they're not sure, just find a way to get started. That's the key. And as we've gotten started with Elevate and as we continue, we're going to keep listening to our childcare folks. We're going to keep listening to our families. We're going to keep listening to anybody that has ideas to make early childhood in Mississippi the best that it can be.
Amazing work, and thank you for your commitment, not only to the children of Mississippi, but just Mississippi overall, and making this an amazing place to live. Thank you, Dr. Allgood.
Thanks, Mark.